Graders, this is your math lesson for the week of March 25th. And our goal for this lesson is I can identify 2D and 3D shapes by looking at their attributes. Attributes means things that you can see about them or characteristics, so things that you notice about them. Okay, we're going to start today by looking at 2D shapes. Now, 2D shapes are flat shapes, and we also call them plane shapes. So we're going to talk for just a minute about the different shapes and then about some of their attributes. So one of the shapes that we're going to call a 2D shape is a pentagon. We also have a circle, trapezoid, rectangle, triangle, rhombus, hexagon, and a square. Another word that's really important for us to know when we're talking about 2D or flat shapes is the word quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals means any shape that has 4 sides. Anytime you have a word that says quad in it, it usually means 4. So quad means 4. Quadrilaterals is a shape with 4 sides. Okay, so when we're thinking about the attributes of these different shapes, we want to look for how many sides they have and how many angles they have. Angles are the corners where 2 sides come together, and the sides are just the sides of the shape. Okay, so let's start by looking at a square. I want you to think, just looking at a square, how many sides does a square have? If you thought 4 sides, you are absolutely right. There are 4 sides to a square. Now I want you to think about how many angles a square has. Remember I said an angle is where the 2 sides come together. So how many angles do you see on a square? I'm guessing that a lot of you guys are saying 4 angles. 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. All right. Let's look at a triangle, because a lot of us already know what a triangle is. How many sides do you think a triangle has? If you count 1, 2, 3, you can see a triangle has 3 sides. Now, what do you think about angles? Let's count them. 1, 2, 3 angles. Okay. So far we've learned that a square has 4 sides and 4 angles. A triangle has 3 sides and 3 angles. Let's look at a rectangle. Okay, if I'm looking at a rectangle, how many sides do you think that a rectangle has? I count 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. I wonder if you guys are noticing a pattern as we count the sides and the angles on these shapes. 4 sides, 4 angles, 3 sides, 3 angles, 4 sides, 4 angles. I'm noticing that the sides and the angles are kind of the same. Let's do a few more and see if we can figure out how many sides and angles. Okay, a new word, or a word that might be new for you, is the word trapezoid. This shape is called a trapezoid. It's different than a square or a rectangle, even though it has 4 sides. It's different because this side and this side are parallel, which means they would never touch if they were going on forever and ever. But this side and this side slant toward each other, which means if they kept going on forever and ever, they would eventually bump into each other. Okay, so that's what makes it a little bit different than a rectangle or a square, and its name is a trapezoid. So think, how many sides and how many angles do you see on that trapezoid? I count 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. I'm betting you guys counted that too. Okay. Another shape that we have up here is a circle. A circle is also a flat shape. When I'm looking at a circle, this one's kind of tricky. The circle doesn't really have sides and angles. We're just going to leave that one blank. Okay, let's move on to a pentagon. A pentagon is a shape that looks like this, and a pentagon is always going to have 5 sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's also going to have 5 angles. Okay, let's come down here to the bottom. Down here we have a hexagon. Hexagon sounds kind of like pentagon. They both have that gon at the end. A hexagon has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 angles. Okay. Lastly, we have a shape called a rhombus. A rhombus is kind of like a square or a rectangle that's been turned a little bit sideways. It's tilting over a little bit. So let's count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. Remember when we're looking at sides and angles, those things are called attributes, and that's one way that we can identify or know the name of a shape. So anytime we see a shape that has 6 sides and 6 angles, we're going to know that those attributes mean that it is a hexagon. Okay, and lastly, the thing we talked about down here at the bottom, quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals are shapes with 4 sides and 4 angles. So a quadrilateral can be a lot of different types of shapes. It can be a rectangle, it could be a square, it could be a trapezoid, it could be a rhombus, or it could just be any shape that has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. Okay, so those are all types of quadrilaterals. One other really important word for us to know about shapes is the word polygon. You might notice that gon again here, that we had in hexagon and pentagon. Polygon means a shape with multiple sides. The word poly means more than one. So any shape that has multiple sides or more than one side is a polygon. So all these things are polygons. Okay, those are 2D shapes, shapes that are flat and shapes that don't have like round or edges. Next, we're going to look at 3D shapes. Okay, that might fall down, but that's okay. All right, so 3D shapes, we can also call them solid shapes. 3D shapes are shapes that, like, if you were holding them, they wouldn't be flat like a piece of paper. They would be round or square or a cube shape. Something like a cell phone is a 3D shape. It has multiple sides all the way around. So, and that's okay. Okay, so 3D shapes. One 3D shape that you've probably heard of before is a cube. A cube is like a square, but with lots of sides. We also have something called a cylinder. We have a pyramid, a sphere, which is something like a ball. So any ball that you play with, like a basketball, is a sphere. Okay, we have a rectangular prism, and we have a cone. A cone is something that's kind of like a party hat. Okay, when we talk about 3D shapes or solid shapes, especially if we're talking about a cube, we have some other important words to know. Okay, a cube has faces, edges, and something called vertex. Vertex is where the two sides or more sides come together to make a point. So that is a vertex. Okay, if we're looking at a cube, if we could see the whole thing, we would be able to count that there are 6 faces, or sort of like 6 sides all the way around the cube. If we were looking at I'm going to show you guys what a cube looks like actually. So a lot of you guys have probably seen these in your classroom. This is a type of cube. Each side is a face. This is an edge, and this is the vertex. All right, so remember our goal was I can identify 2D and 3D shapes by looking at their attributes. The vertex, the sides, and the edges, the faces and the edges are all attributes of 3D shapes. All right. Right now, I'm going to show you guys some pictures of some of these things in real life and how they might look in real life. Okay, look at this picture right here. This is a picture of a hexagon in real life. If we count, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a picture of a cloud going around Saturn, the North Pole of Saturn. Okay, let's look at the next one. What shape do you think you're seeing here? I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Some of these might have 5 and some might have 6 sides. So what shape would that be? It could be a pentagon or it could be a hexagon. This is what the inside of a honeycomb looks like. Remember, a honeycomb is where like bumblebees live and where they make their honey. On here, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. If you remember from our lesson, if it has 6 sides, that's called a hexagon. Here's another shape. What shape do you think you're seeing here? Think about this, the faces and the edges. To me, these are like cubes, and you might agree. Wow, I'm seeing a lot of shapes in here. Let's count the edges of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inside of this snowflake, wow, there's a lot of shapes going on here. I'm wondering how many different shapes you might be able to find in this picture. All right, so after this lesson, I want you guys to make sure that you are working on the homework pages for Unit 2.9. Okay, that is the shapes unit. The homework pages will be in the packet that says 2.9. Okay, we're going to be done with 2.8 for now. We're not going on to 2.10 yet. Okay, 2.9 is where we're working on shapes. I'm really excited to see what you guys are able to do. I hope that each one of you sends your teachers pictures or videos of your math work this week so that we can see what an awesome job you're doing with this goal of identifying 2 and 3D shapes.